Hi guys, this is Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing an encouraging spring themed card using a new interactive die set from Spellbinders. I'll have links to all of the products I'm using today in the video description below for your convenience. I love it when the instructions for an interactive die are super easy to use, and this one is a lot easier than I expected it to be. The set I'm using today is the Butterfly Bliss Garden Shutters 5x7 card base, and it starts off with 3 pieces of 5x7 cardstock. By the way, the instructions that come with this die set, they are very easy to understand, absolutely. What you basically do is you've got this one kind of funky looking die, and you line up one edge with the edge of your paper at the bottom and one on the side, and then you run it through your die cutting machine, and that creates one of your shutters. Then you go back and you line up the little circles that you've already cut out, the little holes, with the bottom. There's a couple more down near the bottom. You line up the holes in the die with the holes that you've already cut, and that lines up everything perfect for your next shutter and for the third shutter, which means you could use this die set to make a card with 1, 2, 3, however many shutters that you want, as long as you've got a big enough piece of cardstock. After cutting all of those shutters out of this first piece of 5x7 cardstock, you're going to want to fold on the score lines to basically create the movement piece. So it's going to be basically a valley and mountain fold. We're going to want the shutters to flip up and then the little tabs to go down, because those are going to be the feet that we're going to be adhering it to another piece of cardstock. Next, we flatten everything back out and then add a little bit of adhesive onto each of those feet. Now, this is my first attempt at this one, so you're seeing how I actually did it the first time, and I did make a couple of mistakes. I'm going to recommend using some liquid adhesive to adhere this down. Why? Because sometimes the tape runner is going to go onto other pieces of the cardstock that you don't want it to, and it can become a little bit sticky, and then you have to rub all of that off. Since we want this card to be pretty, we need to make something to cover up those mechanisms, and there's a die for that to help us make a frame. The way that the die is designed is to go into the center of the card, so what I'm doing here is I'm just making some lines to show me where the center of the card is going to be. If you look close at this frame die, there's this little bit that's cut out, a little tick mark that is on basically on all 4 sides, to show you exactly where to line it up with those crosshatch lines that I just drew onto the paper. So I'm lining those up with those little notches and taping this down, so when I put it in my die cutting machine, it'll stay in place. Next, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this frame down. Now, again, I recommend use your liquid adhesive, because what I did is I put too much adhesive on, and I had trouble getting the panels to move for a while because I had too much of it stuck down. I'm also going ahead and cutting out one of the little pull tab things that come in the kit. It's a decorative and it is so pretty, so I'm cutting out 2 of those just to give me a little bit more, a little bit more stability, I guess. And then I'm going to attach those to my frame so that it's going to be easier to pull. Okay, at this point you do want to remember how big your card is and how big of an envelope you want to use for this. This card will no longer fit into a 5x7 card envelope because of where I put my tab. Now, I could have slid it down a little bit and it may have fit a little bit better, but this is something you'll want to take into consideration before you start putting everything together. You can see I put a ton of that tape runner on there, and it is going to overlap parts of my mechanism, and I do go back and I fix it, but it did make it a bit hard for me to move it a lot of the time I was doing this construction. So I removed that top panel, and I did try putting that adhesive down again. I'll be honest with you, up through the very end I did have some issues trying to get everything to move right because I put too much adhesive down. So don't do what I do. Do what I say, not what I do, right? Because I'm the one that experimented with this so that you guys could see what not to do. Okay, back to making the card. I did get it working, finally working okay, although I did have some trouble working around with it. So next what I'm going to do is cut out all of the fun little pieces to decorate this guy up. Now there is this real pretty filigree panel that can go on each of our little shutters, and there's these pretty butterflies and all of those good things, and this is just, I think this is just precious. I am continuing what I was doing last year with trying to use my pattern paper as much as possible, so you'll see that I am using a bunch of a new pattern paper pack, at least new to me because I just opened it. This pattern paper has been in my stash since 2017. Isn't that fun? So I'm going to go ahead and start adhering all of these fun little things together. You can decorate these shutters any way that you want, but I decided to stick with what came in this die set, which included all of those pretty butterflies, these filigreed panels, and the lovely sentiment that goes with it. You'll also notice that I cut a second frame to go over the first one to give it a prettier look and to kind of bring everything cohesive, again using that pretty pattern paper. Each of these little filigreed panels I put on a backer of that pattern paper, and I'm adhering each of those down to one of the shutters and decorating it with one of my cute little butterflies. After finishing the front and the outside of the shutters, I'm doing the same kind of thing on the inside of the shutters. So what I did is I opened up the shutters, and I'm putting some more of that pretty pattern paper on the inside, basically on the inside of those shutter pieces. So you're going to have something on both sides, and then I'm going to add on those pretty little sentiments. This next part is optional. I decided that because I was having a little trouble holding on to the different pieces to be able to open and close the shutters, that it might be a good idea to add it to a card base. So I cut a 5x7 card base, and now I can hold on to the card and open and shut the shutters. I think that is just too cute. As a final touch, I've got to add some gems. You know me when it comes to these tiny little crystal gems. So I'm going to do kind of a scattering, or at least that was my initial intention. And then I decided, you know, what if I kind of connected each of those butterflies by just adding a little crystal trail around and connecting with each of those? And I think that turned out pretty cute. If you're more into A2 cards than these 5x7, because I don't normally do a lot of 5x7s, then you are going to love the next card video. Once I have that one up, I will be leaving a link for you here. This one is basically the same kind of thing, but using another new die from Spellbinders. This one is for an A2 size card, so it's going to be fabulous. I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe. I do have new crafty videos and live streams every single week, and I don't want you to miss a thing. You guys have a wonderful day, and remember, if I can make it, you can too.